I never thought I'd be labeled the toxic mom of the family, but here I was standing in my kitchen on a Sunday morning, staring at my phone as the group chat exploded with accusations. My mother-in-law, Diana, had just posted a long message about how I was deliberately keeping the children away from their loving family and destroying precious bonds that can never be replaced. The irony was almost laughable. If only they knew how many times I tried to make things work. How many invitations I'd accepted only to receive last-minute cancellations. How many times my kids had been left waiting by the window for grandma to show up. I'm Emma, mother of twins Jack and Sophie, age 8. My husband, Mike, works as an emergency room doctor, which means our schedule can be unpredictable. Still, we always made an effort to attend family events, especially for the kids' sake. Diana had seemed wonderful during our dating years, but something changed after the twins were born. It started subtly. Diana would schedule family dinners without checking if Mike was on call. When we couldn't make it, she'd sigh dramatically and say, "Well, I suppose some people just don't value family time as much as others." My sister-in-law, Amanda, would nod in agreement, her perfectly scheduled life with her single, perfectly behaved child, making her feel qualified to judge everyone else's parenting. But the real problems began when the twins started school. Jack was diagnosed with mild ADHD, while Sophie showed signs of anxiety in large group settings. Instead of understanding, Diana saw this as a personal failure, my failure. Children only develop these issues when their mother doesn't provide proper structure, she'd say loudly at family gatherings, making sure everyone could hear. In my day, we didn't have all these fancy labels. We just raised our children right. I tried to explain, to educate them about neurodiversity, but Diana and Amanda had already made up their minds. Every time Jack fidgeted at the dinner table or Sophie needed a quiet moment alone, I'd catch them exchanging knowing looks. The last straw came during Easter Sunday. We'd arrived early to help set up, the twins excited to see their cousins. Jack had been doing so well with his new routine, and Sophie had been practicing her deep breathing exercises. They were really trying. But Diana had other plans. "Emma, dear," she called out sweetly as we entered, "I've set up a special kids' table in the basement. I think it would be better if Jack and Sophie ate down there, so they don't disturb the adults." I stood frozen in the doorway, watching my children's faces fall. Sophie's lower lip trembled, and Jack's hands balled into fists, his tell when he's trying to control his emotions. "The basement?" I asked, keeping my voice level, "while everyone else eats upstairs." "Well," Amanda chimed in, adjusting her designer glasses, "my Taylor shouldn't have to deal with disruptions during family time. She's very sensitive to chaos. I looked at Taylor, who hadn't once looked up from her iPad since we arrived, then back at my twins. Jack was now taking slow breaths, the technique his therapist taught him, while Sophie had moved closer to me, seeking protection. "No," I said firmly, surprising even myself. "Either we all eat together, or we don't eat here at all." The silence that followed was deafening. Diana's face turned red, and Amanda gasped as if I'd suggested serving pizza at a royal banquet. "Well," Diana finally said, her voice dripping with disapproval, "if you're going to be difficult about this, perhaps it's better if you don't attend family gatherings until your children learn proper behavior." I gathered our things and left, ignoring Diana's dramatic sighs and Amanda's not-so-subtle whispers about attention-seeking behavior. In the car, I expected tears from the twins, but instead, Sophie spoke up first. "Mom," she said quietly, "are we really that bad?" My heart shattered. "No, sweethearts," I assured them, meeting their eyes in the rearview mirror. "You are perfect exactly as you are. Sometimes adults need to learn that different doesn't mean wrong." That night, after the kids were asleep, I checked my phone to find dozens of messages in the family group chat. Diana had crafted a masterful narrative about how I'd stormed out of Easter dinner, destroying family traditions, and depriving the children of their cultural heritage. The responses flooded in. How could she be so selfish? Those poor children. Someone needs to do something. I sat there, reading message after message, each one twisting the knife deeper. But then I noticed something. The timestamps on some older messages Diana had forgotten to delete. Messages between her and Amanda, planning how to handle the situation before we even arrived. "We'll put them in the basement," Diana had written. "Emma won't dare make a scene on Easter. And once they're isolated, we can show everyone how unstable her parenting really is. Amanda's response made my blood run cold. Perfect plan, Mom. Once everyone sees how she reacts, we can start suggesting she needs parenting classes, maybe even counseling. It's for the children's sake, after all. My hands shook as I scrolled through months of their conversations, each message revealing a deeper layer of manipulation. They hadn't just been judging my parenting, they'd been actively plotting to undermine it, to paint me as an unfit mother, all while pretending to care about the children's well-being. As I sat there in my quiet kitchen, something shifted inside me. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was about my children, their self-worth, their future. Diana and Amanda had unknowingly given me the very weapons I needed to expose their game. I looked at my phone, then at the family photos on my wall, and made a decision. If they wanted to play games with my children's happiness, they were about to learn that this mama bear had claws of her own. The next few weeks were a carefully orchestrated symphony of manipulation, not by me, but by Diana and Amanda. They ramped up their campaign, scheduling elaborate family events almost every weekend. Picnics, game nights, cousin sleepovers. Each invitation came with a subtle dig about my poor children missing out on family bonds. What they didn't know was that I'd been methodically saving every text, every email, every group chat message. I created a digital folder titled Truth, documenting their systematic attempts to isolate us. The most damning evidence came from their private conversations that Diana had accidentally left visible in the family chat. The twins' birthday is next month, Amanda had written. Let's plan something amazing but forget to check if Emma's free. When she can't make it, we'll have proof she's keeping them from family events. Diana's response was immediate. Perfect. I'll tell everyone I tried calling her multiple times. We'll make it so special that Jack and Sophie will feel devastated about missing it. Maybe then Emma will realize she needs to fall in line. I felt sick reading their schemes, but I kept collecting evidence. My husband, Mike, exhausted from his hospital shifts, initially tried to keep the peace. They're just old-fashioned, Emma. Maybe we should try harder to fit their schedule. Then he saw the messages. It was a quiet Sunday morning when I finally showed him everything. He sat at our kitchen table, scrolling through months of screenshots, his face growing darker with each revelation. When he reached the messages about the planned birthday manipulation, his hands began to shake. They're gaslighting us, he said quietly, the doctor in him analyzing the pattern of emotional abuse. They're trying to make us question our own parenting, our own reality. Jack and Sophie, meanwhile, were thriving in their new routine. Without the constant pressure of performing for their grandmother and aunt, Sophie's anxiety had decreased significantly. She even volunteered for the school play, a small role, but a huge step for her. Jack's ADHD was becoming more manageable with consistent structure and positive reinforcement. But Diana and Amanda weren't done. They started posting old family photos on social media, carefully selected to show happier times. Pictures where the twins looked perfectly behaved, usually because they were exhausted from masking their natural tendencies, with captions like, "Missing our precious grandchildren, #family is everything," and "Remember when we were all together." Some things are more important than pride. The comments flooded in from extended family and friends, all sympathizing with the poor grandmother who just wanted to see her grandchildren. Nobody seemed to question why we weren't attending events. They just assumed I was being difficult. Then came the annual summer barbecue, the biggest family gathering of the year. Diana made sure everyone knew it was happening, sending invitations to the entire extended family. The message was clear. Attendance was mandatory for anyone who wanted to remain in the family's good graces. The evening before the barbecue, I received a series of texts from cousins and aunts. Just swallow your pride and come. Think of the children. Family is everything, Emma. I looked at my twins, playing peacefully in the backyard. Jack was explaining his latest science project to Sophie, his hands moving expressively as he described each detail. Sophie was actually listening, asking questions, engaged, no sign of the anxiety that used to plague her at family gatherings. Mike came home from his shift and found me staring at my phone. "I think it's time," he said, wrapping his arms around me. "They want to talk about what's best for the kids. Let's show everyone exactly what that looks like." I nodded, feeling a strange calm settle over me. "The barbecue tomorrow." "The barbecue," he agreed. I'll cover your shifts at the hospital next week if you cover mine tomorrow. This needs both of us. That night, I stayed up late, organizing my digital folder of evidence. Text messages, emails, timestamped photos of canceled plans, screenshots of their private conversations planning each manipulation. I created a second folder of videos. Jack proudly showing his improved grades, Sophie performing in a school play, both kids laughing and playing without the weight of constant judgment. As I worked, a new message popped up from Diana in the family group chat. Tomorrow's barbecue will be a chance for healing and reconciliation. Emma, if you're reading this, please remember that family forgives. All we want is what's best for those precious children. I looked at the twins' happy faces on my screen, then at Diana's message. She was right about one thing. Tomorrow would definitely be about what's best for the children. I just don't think it's going to be the reconciliation she has in mind. The day of the barbecue arrived with perfect summer weather. Mike and I showed up exactly on time. The twins dressed in their favorite outfits, not the formal wear Diana always insisted on, but clothes they felt comfortable and confident in. Jack wore his science camp t-shirt, while Sophie chose her drama club jersey. The backyard was already full of relatives. I could feel the tension shift as we walked in, conversations pausing mid-sentence. Diana and Amanda stood by the grill, their matching shocked expressions almost comical. "Oh, you came?" Diana stammered, clearly thrown off by our appearance. Her eyes darted between the twins' casual clothes and my calm expression, trying to find something to criticize. Of course, I smiled, my phone feeling heavy in my pocket. After all, family is everything, right? Before Diana could respond, my father-in-law, James, called everyone to attention. "Since we're all here," he announced, "I think it's time we address the elephant in the room. Diana, you said you wanted to talk about the situation with Emma and the kids." This was her moment, and she seized it with theatrical precision. "Yes," she said, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. "As you all know, we've been devastated by Emma's decision to keep the children from us. We've tried everything to maintain our relationship, but..." "Have you?" I interrupted, my voice carrying across the yard. The crowd fell silent. "Would you like to show everyone exactly how hard you've tried?" I pulled out my phone and connected it to the Bluetooth speaker someone had set up for music. "I have something I think everyone needs to see." What followed was 20 minutes of absolute silence as I played the evidence. Text messages between Diana and Amanda plotting to exclude us, then blame me. Photos of the twins at events they claimed we'd skipped, proving their lies about our absence. Screenshots of canceled plans and deliberately impossible scheduling. "And this," I said, pulling up their conversation about the basement at Easter, "is how they plan to isolate my children, because they're neurodivergent, because they're different, because they don't fit their idea of perfect grandchildren." The color drained from Diana's face as her own words echoed across the backyard. "Once they're isolated, we can show everyone how unstable her parenting really is." Amanda tried to intervene. "You're taking everything out of context." "Context?" Mike stepped forward. "Here's context." He played a video of Jack proudly showing his latest science project results. "My son's grades have improved dramatically since we stopped letting you shame him for his ADHD. Another video shows Sophie performing in her school play. And my daughter's anxiety? Almost gone when she's not being forced to mask who she is." The silence was deafening. Relatives who had been criticizing us just hours before now stared at Diana and Amanda with horror. James, my father-in-law, was the first to speak. "Diana," his voice shook with anger. "What have you done?" Diana's facade cracked. "I just wanted perfect grandchildren. Is that so wrong? In my day, we didn't have all these conditions. Children behaved because we made them behave." "Perfect." Jack's voice surprised everyone. He stood straight, his hands steady. "Grandma, do you know I won the science fair last month? Mom says being different helps me think in new ways." Sophie joined her brother. "And I'm not scared to talk in front of people anymore. Not when I can be myself." Aunt Mary, Diana's sister, stepped forward. "Diana, you've been telling us for months that Emma was the problem. That she was keeping the kids away out of spite. But this is cruel." One by one, relatives began to speak up, sharing times when Diana had manipulated situations, twisted words, created drama. It was like a dam breaking, years of carefully crafted deception washing away. Amanda tried one last time. "But we just wanted what's best for the children." "No, I said firmly. You wanted what was best for your image. There's a difference. The barbecue ended early that day. As people left, many stopped to hug us, to apologize, to praise the twins for their bravery. James promised to handle things with Diana and Amanda, looking years older as he processed the depth of their manipulation. That evening, as we drove home, Sophie asked, Mom, are we still family even if Grandma doesn't like us? Oh, sweetie, I reached back to squeeze her hand. We're surrounded by family. Real family accepts you exactly as you are. Jack grinned. Like Uncle James. He asked me to explain my science project next week. 6 months later, our family dynamics look very different. Diana and Amanda are in counseling, a condition James set for continued family contact. We have limited, supervised visits on our terms. The twins are flourishing, surrounded by relatives who now celebrate their differences instead of trying to hide them. Sometimes the strongest family bonds are forged not by blood or obligation, but by the courage to stand up for what's right, even when it means facing down the people who should have been in your corner all along.